Hey folks, this is Dennis Boren, criminal defense attorney and former felony prosecutor. And I want to talk to you today about something that's really a new phenomenon in the past few years. It has to do with the Me Too movement and its unintended consequences. Now, let me say on the outset that the Me Too movement needed to happen because women were largely ignored and brushed aside. And a lot of injustices has occurred over decades, really centuries, that women were not listened to. And sexual assault cases were never brought to justice because of this cultural bias against women. So this needed to happen. In that sense, it's good. But there's some definite unintended consequences of the Me Too movement. When I was a prosecutor back in the day, we had a lot more leeway on what cases we could take and reject. Today, there's a lot of political and press, media coverage and pressure on the police, on prosecutors, and even judges. Because in Texas, judges are elected officers, which is a matter of debate whether that's a good idea, but that's what it is right now. It's hard for a police officer or a prosecutor to turn down somebody who says they've been sexually assaulted, no matter what the evidence is, because they could well end up being finger pointed at in the news media as somebody that's ignoring a victim. So you have to know that once a case gets filed, these things take on a life of their own, and it's sort of pouring concrete, and the concrete hardens really fast. So it's really hard to get rid of these short of trial. And that can be a very long process and expensive. Trials on matters like this can take well over a year to even rise to the top of the court's list or docket. Now, let me address a few of the most vulnerable people or categories in this regard. One is employers. Employers need to have specific office policies regarding this and ways to report. Of course, there's civil liabilities as well, and you see a lot of those civil lawsuits occur because of this, but there are criminal repercussions as well. But I mainly want to address step parents, especially stepdads. When there's an accusation made, this is like an alien spaceship has landed on you. And young kids or teenagers, they really don't usually think of the long-term consequences of an accusation. It's literally like an atom bomb or a hydrogen bomb goes off in the family. Here's my suggestions to avoid this. One is, if you're a stepdad, do not be the one that uses or exacts corporal punishment. Let the birth parent do that. Minimize being alone with a stepchild, especially a stepdaughter that's over 10 years old. Never be in a room alone with the door closed with a stepdaughter. Really don't engage in horseplay, physical contact. You can pat them on the head and hug them a little bit, but you've got to really be careful. And I know it's a shame, but you have to protect yourself. You also want to address a child's, particularly teenagers, provocative dressing. This needs to be addressed by the other parent. Usually it's the mom, the birth mom. Also be aware of the child's friends. I've seen a lot of cases, and I have about half a dozen of them right now. And many of them involve situations where a child's friends have instigated an accusation. And keep as good a relationship as possible with the birth parent. Just have full disclosure with them so there's no hidden agendas. If you have any notion or idea that you may be accused, you need to get it out in the open. You need to do it and not wait for CPS or some outcry witness where the child tells somebody else, another adult, because this starts an avalanche that often cannot be stopped. It's very important that you hire an attorney in this situation early. Your instinct is to go to the police and go to CPS, tell your story. It's like, this is ridiculous, and it probably is ridiculous. But your instinct to do that is a bad instinct. You need to hire an experienced attorney right away. Everyone thinks that this will never happen to me, but I promise you, you'll rue the day if you don't listen to what I just told you. Of course, if you have any questions about this or related subjects, always reach out to me and I'll be happy to answer those. And as I always remind you is if you're interacting with the police, make a video through your smartphone video app, or at least an audio recording. This will protect you. Hope this was helpful.